Today we are playing a deck that I'm calling Mobilize the Past because we are once again playing the Raise the Past deck using the 4-mana sorcery of the name, but we're adding in Voice of Victory, a new Mobilize card from Tarkir Dragonstorm. This 2 mana is 1/3 as Mobilize 2, so whenever you attack, you make 2 1/1 red warrior creature tokens and you sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. And Voice of Victory also says your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which is quite nice if your opponent is planning to counter your combo. So not only does this make creatures that will trigger all of your life gain effects, which will then in turn trigger your Starscape Cleric and your Amalia, but it also acts as a bit of protection for the combo so the opponent can't counterspell it. Besides that, some of like the new additions that I'm trying out in the deck is we're playing Vengeful Bloodwitch. It works pretty similar to like Elas il-Kor in the sense that when a creature dies, we will actually drain or deal damage to the opponent. This works really well with Mobilize because Mobilize, it doesn't say exile the tokens, it says sacrifice, and so the tokens that you sacrifice will trigger Elas il-Kor's death trigger, making the opponent lose 1, and Vengeful Bloodwitch you get to make the opponent lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. So that is the deck. I'm also playing Felidar Cub so that we can blow up temporary lockdowns and potentially some of those Omniscience combo players. We will see how it works, but yeah, let's hop into the games and see how we can do. Okay, opponent goes first. I think that means we can afford to mulligan. I don't really like keeping a hand where we don't have a 1-drop to go off of, just because it feels like standard is oh so fast. So this hand feels a little bit better, having the Gnawing Vermins. Yeah, let's get rid of the planes, I think. Plan is to run out Gnawing Vermin turn 1. Gnawing Vermin, when it enters, we can have target player mill 2 cards. We'll mill ourselves. Hopefully put more creatures in the graveyard so we can reanimate them later on. And then if the opponent ever kills it, we can give -1/-1 to the creature the opponent controls and maybe remove it. Okay, so Fabled Passage into a mountain. Opponent probably on some kind of multicolor deck. So far, Boros. I would assume they're not playing an aggressive deck if they're playing Fabled Passage, but could be just also the cards that the opponent has. Because, you know, sometimes you don't have the right lands, and so you kind of make substitutions for what you have. Opponent going to kill Lightning Helix is interesting. Next turn we can get down the Starscape Cleric or the Felidar Cub. Okay, so it is a Simulacrum Synthesizer deck. Which is a little bit problematic because we don't have any artifact removal. Felidar Cub only deals with enchantment. But we have the Starscape Cleric, which is one of the big pieces that you look for in this deck. Of course, the opponent has an exile-based removal, so it doesn't go to our graveyard. And in turn, we are now left with no win con in hand. We've been putting a lot of cards in the graveyard, so if we can get a reanimation spell, Raise the Past, we could be back into the game. Simulacrum Synthesizer is definitely one of the most successful decks that I've played so far. I've been struggling a lot to put together new things with this set. It just feels like let me go to my match history today so I can complain. So I tried to put together a Bant ramp deck with the new ramp dragon, Bloomvine Regent, I believe it's called. And well, it did not go well. I went 3-9 with that deck, and a previous version that I was kind of working on that was similar plan, just to try and ramp with the Regent. I also went kind of negative on, unfortunately, big creature, big problem, and we did not draw into any of our reanimation spells or anything to set up the top of our deck very well, and we're just dead. Alright, this hand looks very good. We have Snarling Gorehound into Voice of Victory that can help us mill a bunch. We also have Vengeful Bloodwitch, which works well with those cards. But yeah, hopefully this game we'll be able to set up the top of our deck. Hopefully we don't fall over and die turn 4 though, because that seems to be what these red decks consistently do to me. Well, Monastery Swiftspear turn 1 is not great for us. We don't have much life gain in the cards that we have in our hand here, because, well, we didn't draw into our 1-drop that gains us life, or our il-Kor. So the Swiftspear, don't really want to block it so we can set up the top of our deck a little bit better, but that is going to be a problem. Five damage down to 14. Let's see if we can die on turn 4. I can play out Voice of Victory, but I kind of want to get down this Sanctifier, so I think what I'll do is I'll play Sanctifier so we can start gaining life, and then play the Gorehound afterwards. A land would be okay here, acceptable. But we don't actually have any 1-drops to pair it with at this point, but we're going to have to get to, we're going to have to get to 4 mana eventually if we want to play our reanimation card. We can play the Amalia to try and put up a bit of a wall and set up our deck more, though. We might want to just go Voice of Victory first. Vengeful Bloodwitch could be a nice option as well if we plan to jump block to start draining, but don't know if we can afford to jump block if they get to keep their creature. Okay, 1 mana open. I'm gonna play out the Voice of Victory so we can try our best to start gaining. I guess another land means we can double spell, which is good. Still not feeling great. Hopefully the opponent is running out of gas, but unlikely option here. Slick Shot, a little concerning, but they only have 1 mana open, so we have a bit of a chance. So Slick Shot will go up to 3 power if they cast the spell. Swiftspear will also go up to 3 power. They'll put us down to 3 life. So if they have 1 spell that deals 3 damage, that instance be like a 3 mana pump spell, also known as Monstrous Rage, we would die. So we probably should block with at least 1 thing to avoid that death. But looking low. Alright, we just go down to 7, which is pretty good. Opponent passes a turn with 1 mana open. They're not going to be able to use that because of the presence of the Voice of Victory, which means they can't cast spells on our turn. Go ahead and mill that into the graveyard. And we should have a lot of triggers go off this turn, because we're gonna get Voice of Victory going in, which will give us 2 more triggers, actually 4 triggers. Well, a lot of triggers. And the opponent actually scoops it up. Wow. Well, we did it. Before we hop into the rest of the games, I want to take a moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video. Magic can feel very overwhelming when you first start. There's so many mechanics, strategies, and cards, but it doesn't have to be that way. The sponsor of today's video is the Sorcerer's Field Guide from Ivory Tower Games. This guide to Magic the Gathering is designed to help players understand Magic from the ground up. Everything from how to play, deck building, to mastering different strategies. If you're new to Magic, this book will walk you through the fundamentals, explain key mechanics in a way that actually makes sense, and help you to avoid common beginner mistakes. If you're tired of always asking that one guy about the rules, or if you're getting a friend or family member into Magic, make your game nights go smoother and check out the Sorcerer's Field Guide using my link below, which also helps support the channel. Thanks, and let's hop into the rest of the games. Alright, this hand feels quite good. We do get to go first. I think we'll probably lead off with a Gorehound, so that we can start milling cards in your graveyard and setting up the top of our library. And then Voice of Victory turn 2, so that we can start attacking in with it the following turn. We play the Sanctifier and Starscape Cleric if we can hit a land. Vengeful Verge means the opponent's probably playing some kind of aggressive deck. Assuming they might have a Bolt for our Gorehound. Not my dog. It is a dog. That's kind of sad. Well, we still have Starscape Cleric and the Hinterland Sanctifier, which could be quite insane. Otterbolt Antic. Interesting. Okay, so this is a card that opponent's playing in a Prowess shell here. We're playing in the Prowess deck here. Actually, I want to get the Gorehound down before I go for the Starscape Cleric drain. Just so that I have more options in terms of getting cards into our graveyard and then setting up a Raise the Past, because Raise the Past is really how you usually win with this this style of deck. Is one giant overwhelming Raise the Past really can be quite hard to deal with. You can see the value of Voice of Victory in this deck is insane. We already have 4 creatures in our actually 5 creatures in our graveyard. So if we hit Raise of the Past in the next few cards, it's going to be quite brutal. We're up to 23, opponent's down to 17. Stock up is scary, but I think we are in a commanding position at the moment. We can keep on, or hold on to this Gorehound. We'll be quite happy. Right, we'll get the Cleric out so we can start draining our opponent, and that's Raise the Past, so I will go ahead and keep that. We will attack in with everything besides the Gnawing Vermin, so we can block with that. And quite a bit of damage. We will need to set up a land drop at some point, but we're playing, I believe, the full 24 at this moment in this deck, just so that we can... Oh, we're playing 23. Okay, so slightly less than... Interesting. Okay, so Ren's Resolve and Monstrous Rage. I do like Ren's Resolve with the Izzet Prowess deck. I think it makes a lot of sense. One thing that I heard that I thought made a lot of sense in terms of if you're trying to play the Quarry Steelcutter, you have to be careful about putting too many of the kind of Monstrous Rage type cards into your deck, because if you do, you might run into an issue where you have a spell in your hand that you would like to cast to hit that second spell, but you have no way of as a land. If we attack in, do we win the game? Full attack. No, because we have 5 damage in creatures. Wait, no, yes, we do, because we get 5 plus 2, and then plus 2 more is 9. So we gain 2 more. Well, we don't even need Raise the Past. Scratch that. All this talk about Raise the Past, how we win the game, that's just a figment of your imagination. GG. Alright, this hand looks like a pretty good starting hand. Hinterland Sanctifier into Amalia means that we should be able to start milling cards into our graveyard, or controlling the top of our library. Not exactly mill, because technically it's exploring, and we get to look at the top card of our library if it's a hand, or if it's a land, or reveal the top card of our library. If it's a land, then we put it into our hand. If it's not, we can either keep it on the top of our library and put it, or put it into our graveyard and we get a counter. And then the Gnawing Vermin mills, and that means you put the top card in your library into your graveyard. And then the Snarling, the Gorehound, however you call it, the Gorehound, you okay, counterspell. That is a little sad, but I think we will be fine, because our graveyard is our second hand, kind of. Wow, a lot of lands off the top, but you can see with the way that we manipulate the top of our library some, it's not too hard to hit your land drops, even if you decrease the land count some. Torch of the Tower is unfortunate, but okay. Raise the Past, I mean, it's not terrible. They will also grow Amalia a bunch, so I think it's worth casting it. The opponent could have a counterspell, so they do not actually a counterspell. And that should be a lot of triggers for Amalia, assuming Amalia gets to stick around. A Braid, the triggers are already on the stack, so it's not a huge impact. Put Cleric in the graveyard. Hope the opponent seems to be on a controlling deck here, so hopefully they don't have a ton of removal, or like graveyard hate rather. They definitely have a lot of removal, but hopefully the graveyard is still safe. Right, Rest in Peace could be pretty bad. That's another reason why we have the Felidar Cub, our Guardian, as a way to blow up at least one graveyard hate piece. Not great because the graveyards already gets exiled when it enters, but a lot of lands here. Need another Raise the Past. We were 20 cards deep, so we saw one already. 1/3 of our deck technically. Played out the Vengeful Bloodwitch before we attacked because I assume that they're probably going to do some kind of removal when we go to attack, and so might as well get the trigger, or the creature that's going to get the death trigger down beforehand. Pico allows them to, doesn't say, they have, wait, without paying its mana cost? Interesting. His unfortunate opponent, we just stopped deck to Raise the Past, and GG. Wow. Alright. Another strong opener. We have one of our 1-drops. There's a reason why we have so many 1-drops, is because we really want to curve out. So glad to see that we're drawing them. And matter of which one do we want to play first. I think we can afford to play the Vermin first. So we would want to get the Black Source down so we can play the Gnawing Vermin. The Rat. We will need another land drop if we want to hit Raise the Past. White Source into Novice Inspector. Interesting. So Selesnya kind of tokens deck maybe is what the opponent's going for. We will know very shortly. Let's attack in with the Gnawing Vermin, see if the opponent wants to trade. If they're playing Novice Inspector, they might not be playing Temporary Lockdown. Maybe. But Voice of Victory, okay, Abzan. Token, oh, okay, so it's a Felidar deck. They make a lot of permanents onto the battlefield, and then with Felidar, the new 3-drop, legendary, whenever it enters or attacks, they get to sacrifice something, and then put a +1 counter on all their creatures. I'm assuming that is what our opponent is up to. Get the Hinterland Sanctifier down, and then Starscape Cleric. So when we attack, and we make these tokens, we drain our opponent. These have been some nice hands that we've got in the video here. So far with the deck, I was going to go over the results at the end, but might as well mention it now. 7-5 with the deck, so it is a positive win rate, and you're always happy when you have a positive win rate, I will say. Alright, 3 mana. Is it a lockdown? Nope, nowhere to run. Interesting. Doesn't matter too much, though we kind of would have liked to have that on board. I don't know if I'm going to cast the Raise the Past quite yet, because I don't think it does much, but maybe we will, because did not draw into much. I'm hoping to top deck something we could play, but since we got absolutely nothing that we could play, go ahead and just keep going in. Down to 8. When we attack next turn, we'll do 4 damage if we can keep our right hand side of the board together. Hopeless Nightmare will make us say goodbye to our planes, but we still have 23 life and quite an imposing board. Sheltered by Ghost can get rid of the Cleric. Still not too upset because these Voice of Victories are going to do quite a lot of work here in terms of moving life totals. And I think I just attack. Even the lifelink could be kind of annoying, so we could keep back the Gnawing Vermin as a blocker, and then the rest we could attack in with. So it's going to be a total of 7 attackers. Can block 2 of them and then go lifelink with the Novice Inspector. They could double block the Voice of Victory and kill it. I think we actually don't attack. I think we would still move their life total down, but we'd go down on our board, which sure we don't mind that much because we can just grab it back, but I think playing a little defensive for a moment here is also a fine option. Because all we get for attacking is moving their life total a smidge and removing things from our board. Which we don't really want to remove things from our board. Top decking is proving to be a bit of challenging this match. This Restless Cottage is a little threatening because it means they could start getting rid of things in our graveyard. Another land is pretty brutal. There's a reason why a lot of these decks play quite a few lands. Or just quite, like, fewer than normal lands. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. Will we be able to find... Well, Raise the Past doesn't really solve the problem. We say goodbye to our Hour of... our Voice of Victory. Which, does stink. But, Last il-Kor, that's good. That is a Death Touch blocker. And I'm still gonna hold off. If we can find a, no. Goodbye, Alas il-Kor, or good, because they're just gonna activate Restless Cottage again. We could triple block it, but then we just get swung in by everything else they have. But we could top deck a Raise the Past. That is technically true. Alright, Gnawing Vermin, we do kind of like that, but at the same time, it's just not going to do much in terms of anything that does go into our yard will get removed. I think we still do it. Top decking a few too many lands in a row means that I think we're just going to slowly suffocate. So the opponent has the cottage, and that's just going to remove stuff from our graveyard. Hopeless Nightmare, just 2 damage. Do not attack in. Interesting. Hinterland Sanctifier. Does mean we can gain some life, but doesn't mean much besides that. The horde's getting wide. I guess we have 6 attackers, we get 2 additional. Still doesn't feel like we do that much damage, and then we lose a bunch of creatures. If we have Raise the Past, we can attack and then cast Raise the Past second main phase. I think that's when we might want to go in for attack like that. Really hoping they continue to not go in with their Raise the Past. Or their Restless Cottage. They're out of mana for this turn. Gnawing Vermin goes down. I mean, I can get rid of the Kieran, so they don't have a flyer. Doesn't bother us that much. Momentum Breaker. Sacrifice a creature. Guess it could be the Gnawing Vermin. And, I mean, get rid of 1 toughness on their lifelinker. We'll pay the reward, why not? We can crack their food. Another land. Feels like the game is starting to mock me at this point. Alright. I almost would assume that they're going to go in with the cottage because they're top decking at this point. And that means they're going to get rid of the bat that would drain them a bunch. Starscape Cleric goes. Probably should have quintuple blocked or whatever. Quintuple blocked. Felidar Cub. Life total goes up. We could get rid of the... Ooh, we can get rid of their, what's it called? Sheltered by Ghosts with the Felidar Cub. Which I think we might try and do here soon. So, honestly, might get rid of this, Restless Cottage instead. We keep getting to make food. How many creatures would we lose? We'd lose 2 creatures. I think we can manage that then. Could have done this last turn. Also probably should have sacrificed the Felidar Cub at that particular moment to then get back the Starscape Cleric so that we had the most amount of... Alright, huge draw. Snarling Gorehound means that our Voice of Victory gets even better. I will get rid of this now. I feel like I've made like a bajillion misplays this game. That comes back. We get a Snarling Gorehound trigger as well as... No, stop the lands, please. Please stop the lands. Voice of Victory goes in. 2 more drain triggers and some mill triggers. We have 34 cards left. We've seen 1 Raise the Past. Right? Yeah, there's no Raise the Past in our exile pile, so... There's more creatures in our graveyard, so that when we do Raise the Past, we get even more back. Opponent almost all the way back up to full on their life total. I don't think we will be blocking. Free speed. A land off the top. Okay, maybe we should have kept Amalia. My goodness. Yeah, maybe we should have keep more lands cut, but I think we have a good chance of winning this kind of race, whatever you want to call this. Opponent essentially has like 2 foods on their side to gain 7 life. Down to 13 we go. We just hit Raise the Past. they will be very, very large. Ah. Feels like 3 lands in a row. When he gets to scry 2, I would take anything besides land off the top, really. That's kind of how I feel. Overlord of Baelmerk is a little bit scary. Could be worse though. Kieran means he can bounce the food or the momentum breaker or pretty much anything. It is a 5 power creature, so we really need to top deck anything besides a land. I mean, I can swing in with the Cleric if they play the Kieran and block. It's not that big of a deal because, well, that could be flying in at our head this following turn, so I think we prefer to trade it to get rid of it, but nowhere to run, can blow up. I guess could blow up the Cleric. Can block the Baelmerk, like chump block it, assuming we get to keep at least 1 creature on defense. Okay, the opponent top decks a land. Good news for us, though. They could get a... Oh gosh, darn it. Can I just get... Wait, they picked up the Skirmish Rhino? Are you sure, opponent? I don't think that's worth. You could have nuked our graveyard with the Scavenging Ooze. I mean, sure, let's get rid of the Hinterland Sanctifier at the same time. It's top deck or bust at this point. If we don't get... This is top half of our deck. We've seen 1 Raise the Past and drawn like 2 or 3 lands in a row. It would be fate for us to just draw another land, but we draw another useless card at this point. And that's top half of the deck, 1 Raise the Past, and just freaking lost. Oh my goodness. That just blows. I was really hoping that we'd get the... Oh wow, we pull it out, but sometimes it just doesn't go that way. Alright, well, What goes first, and we don't have a 1-drop. Terrible hand. Again, no 1-drop. Finally a 1-drop, but the hand's pretty unplayable at this point. And it's gonna be mono red, and we're gonna die turn 3. Ay ay ay. This might be my last standard video for a while. We might try some commander videos, because I am losing my mind here. I played Magic for like 2-3 hours today and just can't get almost anything to work. And the thing that I do get to work is Raise the Past with the twist of adding like 1 card. Doesn't feel great. But that's kind of where standard feels like it's moved. Is there's gonna be 1 or 2 cards added to 1 or 2 or like to decks, and then that's what you get with new standard sets. Opponent might be Omniscience combo. And thankfully we have a bit of a combo here, so opponent has to finish the game relatively quickly, because we're gonna do quite a bit of damage, though I guess they could have a sweeper, and that would send us pretty far back until we can get our 4th land and Raise the Past. Temporary lockdown would also be pretty bad. We would have to find one of our 3 Felidar Cubs, I believe it is. Of course, it's temporary lockdown. worse than Day of Judgment for us. And is that Omniscience into the graveyard? Is not. Alright, well, we'll play out Starscape Cleric. Now the game's giving me Raise the Past when I need pretty much anything else. Can't imagine they're that far away from comboing on us, so do need. Well, last game was my fault. I mentioned that we were doing relatively well. Whenever I talk about the deck doing well, we proceed to lose the next game. This game, we just got trounced. Opponent probably has Spell Pierce backup. Or could have Spell Pierce backup at this point. Okay, they don't have the thing, but now we're just going to keep top picking lands. So. I do like the card styles that the opponent has chosen. Really nice to see the full arts of the Duskmourn full arts. I feel like are very, well, actually all of them are just very nice looking. Opponent has digged through the next 6 cards of their library or something. They do get the Koilos Awakening. And then stock up means that they're probably going to be able to find the invasion here very quickly. And GG. Well, our opponent was playing a new card there. I don't know if I paused the recording too quickly, but they were playing the Jeskai's Revelation card. Or Jeskai, like, mythic sorcery as the finisher. But yeah. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Is this an upgrade over the current, or like Raise the Past list? I'm not entirely sure. I think Raise the Past has fallen a little bit out of favor. I think you find that the red aggressive decks, its matchup into the red aggressive decks is not terrible, but it's not great because you are generally leading into a bunch of cheap creatures, and so you don't really have, well, yeah, you're playing a bunch of cheap creatures so that you can make the most out of your Snarling Gorehound and life gain effects, but that means you don't have a lot of removal, and if the opponent gets that kind of a good 1-2 in terms of like Heartfire Hero into Manifold Mouse, it can be really hard to hold up to that. Overall, we ended up going even with the deck. We are, or actually, yeah, I'm 7-7 with the deck, so it's not terrible. So if you're looking for Raise the Past deck, they're checking out this list. Let me know what you think of the deck, what you're thinking of Standard at the moment. I don't know, I'm very, I'm kind of burned out, man. There's no other way to put it. I've played like 3 hours of Standard today and trying out new things, and it felt brutal. So yeah. Anyways, have a nice morning, evening, night, afternoon, wherever and whenever you're watching. Take care of yourself. Ciao.